Hi, this is Tim Brawley, and for the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'd like to discuss with you soft field takeoffs. But before we begin, a little legal disclaimer. I am not a certified flight instructor, although inspiring to be one. So before you set out to explore soft field takeoffs, remember that what I'm about to discuss is for informational purposes only, and that you should always consult a certified flight instructor. The objectives of this lesson is to learn the concepts and techniques of soft field takeoffs. We'll learn how and why they differ from normal and short field takeoffs. So what is the definition of a soft field? A soft field is one that hinders acceleration. This may include effects from grass, gravel, or even snow. Let's take a minute to identify the soft field airport in this sectional diagram. If you said Sandy River, congratulations, you're correct. A soft field is depicted by an open circle with no depicted runway within it. Now also on this sectional diagram, you'll see a bunch of open circles with an R in them, signifying a private airport. Now nothing says that a private airport will be paved or unpaved on a sectional. Now how do we overcome the effects of a soft field? First of all, we'll want to transfer all the weight to the main gear. This will prohibit any undue stress on our front landing gear, which is primarily there just to support the weight of the engine and a tricycle gear. Secondly, we'll want to get the plane off the ground as soon as possible by transferring the weight to the wings. Remember, what was hindering our acceleration can't hinder our acceleration if we're no longer in contact with it. Now, how do we do this? Good news, we have a helping hand. It's called ground effect, which means that the closer we are to the ground, the less the induced drag. Looking at the chart on the right, we see the induced drag reduction on the left as corresponding to the height and percent of the wingspan. Therefore, at almost takeoff, or very little height above the ground as compared to wingspan, we achieve almost a 50% reduction in induced drag as compared to height and wingspan almost being nil reduction in drag. So how do we do this? First of all, remember, always consult your POH for specific guidelines on soft field takeoffs. But as an example for this presentation, I'll focus on the Cessna 152, 172 POH. First of all, we'll want to set the flaps to our first notch. We'll obtain our clearance, preferably prior to the hold line. We'll clear the area and perform our pre-takeoff checklist, which would include making sure our lights are on, our transponder set, our boost pump evacuable or carb heat is cold, and our seat belts are secure, doors locked, and mixture as required. We'll continue our control inputs based on the current prevailing winds, and we'll taxi out on the runway, applying full back pressure to the yoke, reducing as much weight as possible on that front landing gear. And as we proceed out, we'll try to keep on moving in the takeoff roll and not stop. That's important. We'll slowly increase power to full power, making sure that we don't do that rapidly as to not throw rocks, etc., based on the prop wash. And we'll just keep enough back pressure to break contact with the ground. After liftoff, we'll want to lower that nose and fly within ground effect. Remember, ground effect is going to help us until our speed reaches our VY, or Vx if needing to clear an obstacle. Now don't forget that right rudder is necessary to counteract the P factor in some aircraft. Now on climb out, when clear of obstacles, we'll go ahead and retard that flaps. And we'll climb out from that point on at VY. And as always, remember to consult your climb out checklist or your cruise checklist for further instructions. Now let's review. Let's look at it from a profile and area view. So step 1, we were taxiing out, we obtained our clearance, and we're doing our pre-landing checklist. And we're lined up, remembering not to stop. Next, we'll accelerate smoothly as not to kick up any debris or anything else, keeping back pressure until we just lift off the ground. And then we'll nose pitch down, stay in ground effect, accelerate to VX or VY as necessary, and rotate. And if accelerating at or climbing out at the VX, once clear of obstacles, we can transition to VY and take out our flaps if they were in, and continue to climb out and have a great flight. Now let's practice. Go ahead and take a moment to walk through the steps in your mind and your hands as if you were in the aircraft. Great job. Now let's review what we learned by a series of questions. How is a soft field different than a normal or short field takeoff? Great. Next question. What do we do to keep the plane moving throughout the taxi and takeoff? Why do we fly in ground effect? Could this be dangerous, being so close to the ground? What happens if the nose remains up and airspeed falls below VY or VX? What could happen if we retract the flaps to close to the ground? Good job. Before we go out and try this ourselves, are there any further questions?